Therefore, did you call irrelevant the Israeli attack in 1967 on the USS Liberty, which left dozens of American servicemen dead and hundreds wounded?
So what I actually said is that if we're looking at modern Israeli-American relations, looking at an attack that happened mistakenly by multiple Navy reports, multiple Israeli reports, and all available evidence, and using that attack in order to undermine today's relations between Israel and America, that's irrelevant.
This is Ben Shapiro, looking like a little gay nerd. Actually, what I said in class is... No, you are getting destroyed, and you're lying about the USS Liberty. You are lying about the attack from Israel on a United States ship. This guy asked a ballsy question. He's been interviewed all weekend. I've seen several where people went and said, hey, you got balls, dude. Let's talk. I support that. Ben Shapiro literally gets destroyed in this entire thing, and it shows that he lies and that he doesn't understand history, and he will do whatever it takes to support Israel through thick and thin. That's what happens during this interview, and it is awesome to watch. We're going to watch the entire clip right here of him getting asked a question and see Ben go down this whole long list of lies. I'm Jared Wright, and this is The Right Wing. And if you like content like this, follow along. Hit the buttons down below. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, turn the notifications on, because I bring you this stuff every single day. I show you what's going on in the world to make it easy for you to follow along so that we can all wake up together to lies like this, to liars like Ben Shapiro. So if you like it, we're going to follow along. But right now, let's just dive into this clip.
You cited during your speech truth as the most important tenet of American conservatism. Why, therefore, did you call irrelevant the Israeli attack in 1967 on the USS Liberty, which left dozens of American servicemen dead and hundreds wounded?
First off, did you hear the crowd? Can you see the direction that this nation is going? This is at a Turning Point event. This is at a TPUSA event. And they have always been very pro-Israel. They've always been hush-hush about things like the USS Liberty. And here we are at their biggest event of the year, at AmFest, America Fest, with Ben Shapiro speaking. And what happens? They go berserk for this guy showing up, Ben, and asking a question about the USS Liberty. That is incredible. I love that. I love to see the crowd supporting this right here. Let's just keep watching.
So what I actually said is that if we're looking at modern Israeli-American relations, looking at an attack that happened mistakenly by multiple Navy reports, multiple Israeli reports, and all available evidence, and using that attack in order to undermine today's relations between Israel and America, that's irrelevant. As irrelevant as it would be to cite a piece of evidence from World War II or from 1776 to define America's relations with, for example, Great Britain or Germany today.
Wait, did anybody just hear what he just said? He said, oh, this happened too long ago for us to define our relationships with Israel over this. Whoa, whoa, whoa. And then he says, this is the same as World War II. But yet, Ben will still call on the Holocaust constantly to talk about Christians, to talk about Christian nationalists, to talk about anything. He still uses that. That wasn't too long ago. It's not too soon to bring up the Holocaust, but the USS Liberty cannot define it. That doesn't make any sense. First off, that you're literally contradicting yourself on your very first statement in this argument, Ben. So that shows his intelligence level, but let's just keep going.
That does not mean that the attack wasn't horrible for the Americans involved, that it wasn't bloody and terrible. The Israeli government paid reparations to the people who were killed. If you look at the actual military record of what happened on the USS Liberty, it was clearly a mistaken and tragic attack. The people who frequently cite the USS Liberty, however, are not talking about the specifics of the USS Liberty. I suspect that the vast majority of people who bring this up are doing so in order to suggest that Israel deliberately attacked an American ship because Israel deliberately wants to harm America. It is connected...
Yes, that's exactly what we're saying, because you've proven it time and time and time and time again. This being a prime example. Israel wants to harm us. They want to prop us up enough to support them, but they ultimately want harm on us. And if you look at the real history of this, go listen to the interviews of the people that were on that ship as they're doing everything they can to say, hey, no, we're Americans. We're supposed to be friends. And they just get bombed and bombed and bombed, no matter what. The American flag was flying that day on that ship, and it could have been seen easily. They put up everything they could, every flag, everything they could to say, hey, look, we're friends, and it did not matter. They got attacked. So Ben's going to try to skew this argument the whole time, and we're just going to kind of debunk it as we go. Let's just go on.
Generally with a larger point. I wonder if that's your point.
If the truth matters, then the Israeli government must be held accountable for that attack. The American flag was flying on that ship. You do not mistake an American ship for a foreign one when our flag is flying.
So, we can spend the rest of the time talking about the specifics of the U.S. Liberty attack, or you can actually go look at the naval investigations that were done, multiple naval investigations that were done. The reality is that people were flying Mirage planes for the Israeli military at the time. The USS Liberty was sailing in an area where it had essentially gone off-grid. The Israeli military mistook it for an Egyptian ship. They thought it was shelling Al Arish, which happened not to be true. In the initial attack, the American flag was knocked down, and then the attack went on for about 90 minutes. And then, as soon, you can hear this, by the way, on the tapes of the Israeli pilots talking to each other, as soon as they realize that it's an American ship, they call off the attack, they speed a ship.
As soon as they realize. Well, first off, how about the flag flying? And this is a lie about it going down. They have said this over and over and over. And even if it did go down, they were putting up every flag they could, including like a holiday flag, like saying, hey, no, this is like, we're not fighting. We're not here to fight. They did everything they could. And they just kept getting bombed for hours. The people on the ship said, no, this is on purpose. They're trying to radio. They're doing anything they can. This was on purpose. Ben's straight up lying. This is that Ghislaine Maxwell's father type of education right here. This is that McGraw-Hill education right here that Ben Shapiro's spilling out. Let's just keep going.
To try and help the USS Liberty. There have been multiple unfortunate friendly fire incidents between Allied forces, including, for example, in the Gulf War, where U.S. forces were responsible for killing about 9 British troops during the Gulf War. It's an unfortunate reality of war, but you're not answering my question, which is, what is your broader agenda in asking the question? Because I suspect that your question is not limited to your specific ire over an incident that happened in 1967.
I think we should question any foreign country's relationship with our government.
That's totally fine, but I'm just wondering why you
serve American interests.
Again, I'm perfectly fine with questioning any country's relationship with the United States. But again, I'm wondering what your motivation is in bringing up a 6-decade-old attack as though it is the #1 issue in assessing the relationship between Israel and the United States today.
Well, many problems persist to this day, but it's interesting that you say 6-decade-old incident when there are many people in this audience who were alive for that attack, as if this is something that's irrelevant.
Well,
that doesn't
no, it's just not particularly relevant to assessing the relationship between the United States and Israel today, in the same way that in 1967, there are a wide variety of countries with which the United States had different relations. Okay, it's clear you're not going to actually answer the question, so I'm happy to move to this one.
Ben he didn't want to go into this conversation. You notice how he moved on. He's like, oh, you're not going to answer my question. Because your question is stupid. Your whole argument is based on the fact, oh, this was 6 decades ago. Okay, I know something that was 8 decades ago, and you bring it up like every week at least. What about that supposedly happened? Okay, so he keeps going back to this. Well, it's 6 decades old, so what does that have to do with our relationship with them today? This was like at the beginning of them being founded. And yet we still share military secrets with them. We still get intelligence from them that's led us into many wars that we should not have ever been a part of, that's cost so many American lives. People I know have died fighting wars for another nation, if we're being honest here, on their behalf. So what does it have to do with the current state of relations? They set a precedent, really 80 years ago, but 60 years ago in this, they set the precedent that they don't care about us. And they still lie, just like Ben doing right here, lie for their own benefit. And that's why I don't support them. I support America. And if you support America, you need to follow this channel. Hit the like, hit the subscribe so that you can see what's going on and have a true America First channel that you can watch every single day. I'm Jared Wright, and this is The Right Wing, and I hope you have a great day.